If you would rather share your feelings with a brick wall than your woman, it might be time to let her go. Let's talk about it. Good evening and welcome to Live, Love, and Marry Wizerr, where our mission is in our name. Proverbs 4:7 says, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, but in all thy getting, get understanding. And we are here every week to help you get wisdom about your life, your love, and your marriage. And we are happy to have you here. Welcome those who are watching live and those who will watch in the replay. Onita Hall, how are you?
I am doing fabulous. The rain came through the other day, so it cooled the temperatures down a little bit. I was able to get my walk in this morning. Again, I'm 2 for 2, so I'm excited and I'm doing good.
All right, 2 for 2. I love it. I love it.
2 for 2. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I also did some walking and running. I did some HIIT. I was like sprinting, then walking, sprinting. I really like that. Yeah, just kind of built back up to that. Just trying to push it a little bit. And did a little Pilates when I came back from that. So just trying to, marry the marathon. I'm trying to marry the goal. Trying to marry the goal. Don't just date it.
Exactly.
So we are happy to have our guest here. We'll tell you about, him. It's Haydn. He's back. He's back. We'll bring him up in a bit. But I do have something special I want to share with you all. I have a free challenge out. The link is in the description right now. It's the 7-day fulfilled and fabulous challenge. Embrace your journey and elevate your life. And this challenge is for anyone who's feeling like a little lonely, a little sad, a little stuck in a rut because maybe you haven't yet found the partner that you desire. And you want to just kick it up. You just want to bring life to your life. You want to have a life that you actually enjoy and love. And so that when he comes, you're ready for him. And, I have been making some changes in my life the last maybe 6 months or so. And I'm excited about the things that are happening. But if you want to be fulfilled and fabulous, regardless of your relationship status, then you need to click on the link and get this free challenge, which starts next Sunday. And you will get details about that. You also coming up shortly is my 3-day virtual retreat. It's actually going to expand on this challenge because this challenge is just a small little, it's like little things you could do throughout the day, every single day for the 7 days to kind of just like reinvigorate your life in totality. But the 3-day virtual retreat will be in August. I don't have the exact date yet, and we'll give you more information as we come. But it's called Passion, Purpose, and Preparation Virtual Retreat. And you are going to absolutely love all of the things that we talk about there. If you just want to take your life to a whole nother level and you want to be ready, because it's good to have passion, it's good to have purpose, but even if you prepare for the partner that you desire, your life is going to be better even if he doesn't come right away, because all of those things are going to make your life better. So please click on the link in the description and I actually will get the link in the comments so you can click on it there as well. This download is free, and so it's free, yours for the taking. All right, so we want you to get that.
Those are all so wonderful, so wonderful. I'll be sure to be sharing it on my social media platforms with all my single ladies,
Yes. Well, I'll give you a special link for that. All right. So it's that time again, and I have a great story for you all. That's a lot of update. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Okay. First of all, y'all, I meant to bring this picture up, but how about Onita was joking on me on Facebook because I was at the museum last week chilling with my friend, and she took a picture of me and we posted it on Facebook, and she was just like, "Are you outside?" And she was just fronting, and I was like, "What? I can't believe she's fronting me like that. What's up with that? I told you I'd go out."
I was so happy to see it.
And then the other co-host, Ebony, was joining her. I was just like, okay, so now they got jokes for real. But I got a hilarious story for you all. I'm gonna tell y'all real quick. So I have a friend who attends Living Manna Online Church. It's an online church. And if you are familiar with it, Pastor Myers and Tante Myers, they're the leaders of that church. So they have this group chat where people can put their prayer request. And in the prayer request, there was a gentleman who put his prayer request, and his request was pray for him to find a wife. He's been praying for 29 years to find his wife, and he has not yet been blessed with her. So it's like, okay. So my friend sent an email. First of all, she's like, hey, I'm going to, she told him, I might say his name because he's trying to find a wife, so whatever. His name is Phil Chavez. If anybody knows Phil, then tell him to come watch this episode.
Okay.
She said, I'm going to pray for you. But then she sent an email to the secretary of the church and said, this guy needs somebody to pray for him for a wife, but I have a friend who's praying for a husband.
Okay, then.
Yes, she did. Yes, I just found this out today. I was like, oh, this is perfect. She said, I have a friend who's praying for a husband, and if he's SDA, she's SDA, they at least have that in common. So can y'all please let him know and see what happens? They can at least meet. I said, girl, if you are not hilarious, but if that actually works out, that is like the best story ever. She says she has not heard from them yet, so she's kind of mad. She's going to go back and email and say, what is up? You have the perfect opportunity right here. But I said, that is not hilarious. Onita, you know that story.
I'm like, what? Wait a minute. Listen, I commend that friend because I feel like that's something I would have done.
Yeah.
We're trying to see this thing happen, right? That would be a funny story. Like if that thing happened, like we'd be at y'all reception, dying laughing about the story.
Yes. So if anybody knows Phil Chavez from Living Manna Online Church, tell him to watch Live, Love, and Marry Wise and see what we can do. Send me an email. Yes. Send me an email. Y'all know my email address, Lorraine at Hey Desiree.
Desiree. That's right.
This community is small. Somebody probably does know him, and they're gonna send an email, Phil. I got you. We can at least talk. So that is my update for today. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Let us bring on our wonderful friend and my brother.
Yeah.
Can y'all please do me a favor and share the link? Tell people to get on. It's time. We're live. This is going to be a great episode. We have had many fantastic episodes and we need people to watch. So we need you to hit that thumbs up button right now. You already know you're going to like it. So go ahead and hit the button. And we want to see you in the comments. Share the link, subscribe, all of that. And I'm going to say all that before we get into this conversation. So our topic today is 5 huge signs you need to let a woman go. And so we brought one of our special male guests to come on and talk about this.
Am I an expert? Am I an expert guest?
You're an expert. You're an expert.
Subject matter expert.
If Victor wasn't working in Chesapeake, we would have got him too. But
yes,
but we gonna have to work that out. All right. So the reason we wanted to talk about this is because we talk a lot about what women need to do and what women need to look out for and all of these things from a women's perspective. But we also want to see from the men's perspective because we're actually trying to date men and what men think about, we need to know, and what things that are really red flags in ourselves that we might need to address. Because a red flag is a red flag because I see it in you and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to not be a part of this situation right here. But if I'm the you, then I need to be the one to address my red flag. You can't fix it, but I can, and I can get healed and do whatever work I need to do. And that's what we want to help you do the work that you need to do from all perspectives. We've talked about finances. We've talked about what men do like. We talked about things that are turnoffs, but now we want to just talk about some more things that are just like, man, you need to go ahead and break up with her. So I'm going to let Haydn kick this off with what is number one for you? These are not in any particular hierarchy, but what is number one for you?
I think that the one thing I wanted to say before I do the kickoff is that men are emotional. I know we talk about that at times. We have emotions. A lot of us have been socialized to hide them, and I think that that's where relationships erode, is that the men aren't willing to be vulnerable, and we'll talk about that closer to the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to say the first thing is a lack of trust, and trust is a interesting word, and it is an interesting dynamic where you need trust in almost every aspect of your life. At work, your boss has to trust you, and you have to trust him that you're going to get a paycheck at the end of the week or the end of the 2 weeks. On the road, we are divided by lines in the road. It's just paint on there. Trust that the person going in the opposite direction is going to go in the opposite direction and not violate that line. Trust is important in almost every aspect of our lives, and then especially in the marital relationship and the dating relationship. If you can't trust that person, then the value of the relationship goes down precipitously. When that does happen, when there is that breach of trust from the man or the woman, either one, rebuilding the trust becomes the highest priority. And I see that there are people that I know, probably I've been in those situations with a girlfriend or whatever, where trying to rebuild trust after a breach is tough. It's almost like, why did we even try this? Becomes almost a waste of time. And then you see in other circumstances where people can rebuild after a breach of trust. So I'm going to say, I'm not calling it the most, but
Right.
you know, that lack of trust is a big thing for men.
I think that's important, but also I want to just interject here that we are talking really about dating relationships that have not reached marriage yet, because there's
Right.
certain different criteria that you need to meet in order to break up a marriage. I mean, from our perspective, from a biblical perspective, there are different criteria. So we're not telling you if you're divorced to go, if this is the situation, you should go divorce that person, or marry. We're saying if you haven't gotten married yet, even if you're engaged, even if the wedding is imminent, but these are some things that come up, then you want to certainly evaluate, but maybe delay the nuptials and get these things right. And trust is a huge one. I was listening to, I think it was Sarah Jakes. I don't remember her other last name, but Sarah Jakes.
Roberts.
Yeah, Sarah Jakes Roberts. And she was talking about trust, and she was saying, similar to what you said, that there are so many different areas. And she said when she got married to the man she's married to now, she had been married before, and it was a terribly abusive relationship, and he was, cheating and all kinds of stuff. And when she got married, she thought, oh, I can trust him not to have an affair or adultery. So then she thought all her trust issues were resolved. But then she realized, well, no, she was learning. I have to trust him to be a good parent, because she already had
Yes.
children. I had to trust him that he was going to take care of me. I had to trust him that he was going to, so it was like all these different areas that trust actually came up, not just in those big things that we typically think of.
Yeah, I saw that too, and it was interesting that you put that perspective in, because I saw a lot of infidelity in relationships as a kid in my family. That was one thing too. It's like, oh, I know I can trust him; he's a faithful guy. And then you get down this road and realize that there's other areas you have to trust in. There was a joke that one of my friends shared the other day on Facebook, about being a sassy driver with your spouse. Like, I know they're getting sick and tired of you. But those one of those areas where Victor's driving and I got my own brake over there, and he's like, okay, honey. And they don't say to me, have I ever gotten this in a car accident? And I'm like, no, that's because I saved us sometimes. But really, the reality is,
by that invisible brake.
invisible brake, or me saying, watch out, or whatever. And once, wake up, because he literally was falling asleep. But it was my own issues from that. My dad died in a car accident that I had to deal with, so that I can so that I had to learn to trust in that area. Like, there's some areas I've never even doubted he got me in those areas. I don't even, it's like breathing. I don't even wonder if he's going to do it. He's going to do it. But that was one area that I had to realize I need to show trust in that, because what it also did, I didn't see that it was showing also signs of distrust to him and a lack of respect or assurance that he could protect me in that way. And so I had to look at the negative side of it, that here I was having a lack of trust that he's going to drive and get us there, take my nap when it's my turn to sleep, because it also now can negatively say to him, I don't trust you, or I don't feel that you can take care of me in this car, or that you're going to do what's best for me physically while you're driving, and also undermine you by trying to give you directions when you didn't ask for them. Just let's get lost, okay? We'll get there eventually.
But also, I think there's another part to that, and maybe is unrelated, but just in the sense that a lot of times we have no control over whether we are in an accident or not. Now, if you're drinking or you're doing something, speeding or something like irresponsible, that's different. But because life happens, then trust him with doing the best he can to take care of you all. But then also don't blame him, when things aren't his responsibility. But
I think one of the things that when I think about trust, I know there's something we say in church, it's in our prayers, that we want to trust God where we can't trace him. So trust is more than just following up and and being behind that person, I gotta let that go. One of the people that I've dated since divorce, dated her one time, and I know that I knew that I couldn't trust her. I never said anything, but when I went to pick her up, um, because usually you don't give people your address. She gave me her address. She wanted to be picked up. Okay. Well, we made a time. The time was 6 o'clock. I arrived at 5:55 because I have trauma in getting places on time. There's trauma there. My father gave me trauma, taking me to school late every single day. And so being on time is important to me. And as I go older, I recognize just how important. And on this date was like a ding, ding, ding. She's the one that said 6. She wanted to be picked up. I arrived at her place at 5:55. I did not text her. I did not go to the door. I walked to the door at 6. Right there, rang the ring doorbell. She says, "I'm sorry, I'm not ready yet. Can you give me 10 minutes?" So obviously she doesn't want me to come in.
Mhm.
So I go back and I sit in my car, and we didn't leave her driveway for 45 minutes. I don't trust her. I don't trust her. I could never go out. I mean, and I'm a good, I didn't say anything. Maybe I should have. Now that I said that, maybe I should have expressed that to her. But 45 minutes is absolutely ridiculous. I'm almost tempted to say 5 minutes is ridiculous. But that's another area of trust that you've got to hold me. I've been around too long. I'm getting too old, and I guess frustrated with life and whatever else. That I need the person that I'm with next. I've got to trust them, and they can trust that if I am not on time for something, I'm going to call, and I'm going to have, and there's going to be a reason other than I'm just not ready. And
Right.
she never offered a reason, an excuse, anything. I mean, I would assume that in 45 minutes you could be getting dressed from scratch if it takes you that long.
Yeah.
She didn't know.
That's why she didn't let you in, because she wasn't even close to being ready.
She was right. She might have just turned the shower on. Like, I don't know what the situation was, but I would tell you that I get it. For the first date, you do have an expectation that we're going to be on time. I can tell you, being married for 24 years, my husband has to wait a lot of the time because I'm just not. I ain't going out till I look like his dime piece, put it that way. And maybe she was taking extra care. However, for a first date, that should have been even communicated, even when you rung the doorbell. Hey, I got home a little later than expected. It's going to take me another 20 or 30 minutes. Do you mind waiting? Because you could have been like, well, let me go put gas in the car. Let me go, vacuum. Now I got time to vacuum, whatever you want to do. I think at least communicating that, because we do have issues when we come in with these expectations and we didn't clearly communicate them, as well as it's hard to fix a first impression like that's, and she's probably used to, in her world, always being late. It's just a normal thing. I have family members that it's normal. It's normal. And I can tell you, my husband's family, we used to be like, y'all, they're early. If you said 12, they're rolling in 11:15, 11:30. And I'd be like, what are y'all doing? We're not even ready. But that's kind of how they're wired. And my family's like, oh, you said 12. That means I could roll in about 1:30 and everything just be getting started, because unfortunately things just be getting started, even though the invitation said 12. So I think, clearly communicating too, though, those expectations will help build a better, foundation with the trust. I'm so sorry for that, sister. It's, for me, it just shows that she wasn't the one for you, Haydn.
Yeah. I'm offended by that because here's my thing, because I don't know if I have late trauma, but I just don't like people being late, and I don't like to be late, and I'm not late. If I'm late, it's because I chose to be late. And if I choose to be late, it's because I am profoundly uninterested in what is about to happen.
I've intentionally,
That could
like,
be
I made
what.
I have intentionally tried to miss
Like,
as much of it as possible.
right. I'm trying to show up when they're ready to clean it up. Like, I'm here to help y'all. Oh, y'all all done?
And the
Let me help
problem
y'all.
is, it has been my experience that even when I try to be late, the other people that I be with, they also late. So I'm still early. But anyway,
Exactly.
But my thing is, you know your own self. You know how long it takes you to look, however good you want to look. Start that early, or say come at 7. You know, if you get off at 5, you're not going to be ready by 6 o'clock. I could be ready by 6 o'clock. I know how to do that. So to me, like, I'm offended already, and I'm just like, so. But I'm glad
because I can.
Yeah, because I'm not down with the whole late thing. But okay, so what's next?
Yeah, I would say constant criticism. A guy, and I'm not saying me. If you're gonna constantly bring me, okay, I almost told on myself. If you're gonna constantly criticize what someone does, I mean, it might be good criticism. I'm not saying that criticism brings me down, but maybe it could. Just hearing the and sometimes even valid criticism, even valid stuff that someone should work on. If you hear it over and over again, it's like, okay, I don't want to be with this person. If this is where you're going to be with me, this is how you're going to communicate with me. I guess that they teach us in I don't remember what class that was, where they taught you to do the criticism sandwich. You say something positive, the criticism, and then you say something positive again to kind of sandwich that in the middle. So you're not breaking down that character, but you're getting at the thing that needs to be, the social media funny things are men come in. I've seen the meme. Oh, I just remembered one of the TikTok things where a woman says marriage can't be that hard, and then everyone stitches it with the little things that guys do, like they come in and they'll just do a picture of the pants dropped on the floor, the shoes all over the place. If one guy gets too much of that, he might want to be out of there.
Yes, that's so funny, because I was listening to ET Eric Thomas talking about, he was preaching a sermon. I can't remember what the topic was, but he was talking about his wife getting him to not just clean stuff, but to keep it clean. She's just like, if I tell you to clean it, then you will, but then keep it clean. He's like, I don't know what my problem is, but I used to just like, it's like I would just get out of my clothes and just bounce. Like I couldn't, like the idea of just picking them up and put them in the laundry. And that was just cracking up. But I see it a lot. I'm just like, yeah, but the basket is right there.
Right there.
It's right there. But so are you saying, you said valid criticism, but are you saying if it's valid but it's done wrong, or are you just saying valid criticism in general? Because
Well, I think that the word that we call it, that men call it, is nagging.
Yes.
And I guess part of that is you get nagged if you don't change your behavior. So for me, I guess I'm processing this right now. It's kind of like the spirit, how this is done. I mean, is there a way for you to get to where you need to go with me without it feeling like constant criticism? I mean, if I'm not, and I guess someone that, if you're in a healthy relationship, you guys could criticize each other, and you probably should. There should be some level of, hey, I would like this to be a different way, or I think this should be a different way. Just one of my, obviously you guys know one of my favorite radio shows is the Dave Ramsey Show, and you hear callers call up all the time talking about how can I get my wife to do this, and he's like, you got to sell the vision. If you're just saying, hey, you spend too much, you spend too much, you do this, you do that, that's going to put them push them back opposed to bring them forward. So you have to find a way to sell the, hey, we want to keep the room clean. So when your socks are everywhere, that doesn't get us. Don't you want to keep the room clean? You probably have to get some sort of agreement where it does not feel like nagging. I can't hear nagging. If you're yelling at me to do something, I don't hear it. All I hear is that you're upset. So you don't, for me, you don't accomplish what you're trying to do. You're constantly criticizing, but you're not going to get it in. And if it came in a different way, that's not criticism. I mean, I know that I sound crazy right now. If it came in a different way, that sound doesn't seem so critical, then I can hear it. I'm not hearing the nagging. I'm not hearing those criticisms. If you can get through here, hey, I can join you because we've had an adult conversation about something that I do that you don't like.
I definitely hear your point there, and I can say I find that one, to be 100% correct, if it's something where if I'm nagging or criticizing and saying that you didn't do this again, like an annoyance way, because one, you guys, you're grown men, and nobody wants to feel like after they've come home all day from work and slaying dragons, that coming home to their safe space, that here now there's no appreciation for what I've just endured, and hey, you're telling me I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. What I've found to work is one, like you said, is the way, even the validity of the concern. We say criticism, but really it's also a concern. It's a matter of her heart. It's how we do say it. And also I find there's better times to have tougher conversations than others. You have to pray for the Holy Spirit discernment to know when it's a good time, when can this man receive this. But also sometimes there's some issues that I have to table and just pray about it first. Like I got to work it out, write it out, see if it's even worth being that big of a deal at this moment, because especially if we're in a committed relationship, and as Lorraine mentioned earlier, it may be you're not married yet. So for both sides, if you're married or not married, you're in a committed relationship. If I want to just criticize so that I can win this thing, then we both lose. But if I'm looking at it, how can this be a win-win for both of us? Then it's bringing it at a time where we're cooler, it's cool heads. It may be done after a romantic dinner, or we're just having regular conversation. And I find that asking the question rather than telling you, you didn't do this again, has seemed to help me in the past. So for instance, saying, hey, babe, I don't know, do you remember me asking you, could you, get my oil changed the other day? He may honestly say, I forgot. Oh my goodness, I forgot. I'm sorry, I'll get you. Then here's where the trust comes in. I either have to decide to say, I'm going to forget about the other 7 times. The other 7 times, that he didn't do it right away. I'm going to have to say then, oh, okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you're going to do it. Because again, if we're trying to be together and work towards something, then we're going to have to give grace, but we're going to also have to allow that space here. Let's say 2 days go by. My oil light is still on. It's still not happened. It's still not happened. But I see you've made time for, all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have a decision to make too. Again, am I just going to take care of myself, which I do most of the time, or am I going to bring it up again? Because again, it should not be in a relationship where the other person's having to always avoid how they feel about a matter. What I have to say, what my concerns are, should be able to be expressed. So I'm not saying to, avoid having these conversations, but checking the timing, the temperature of the environment. And if you're married, a little wisdom and advice to you. Some of my best conversations come after getting to know your spouse. I'm reading in between the lines. after you get to know your spouse. So I find that, and I've asked some of my friends this, and they said the same thing. Sometimes our husbands are way more open and willing to have tougher and deeper conversations.
Yeah,
So
Pastor Leggett suggests that too. But I also just, want to on the other side of that is I think that the reality sometimes is that nagging becomes nagging because you didn't listen the first time I said it before I started nagging, So I think there has to be intention around even, and I think this is where a lot of people can easily go off the rails by these little tiny things, is that if I ask you to put your clothes in the hamper, you could have lived 30 years not putting your clothes in the hamper because just for whatever reason that made sense to you. But now you're married to someone who it matters to. So I think when we start thinking, oh, that matters to that person, and we are attentive to that and we are intentional, then suddenly our clothes end up in the hamper instead of beside the hamper because it matters to that person, even if it doesn't matter to you. And that's something the Gottmans talk about, the Gottman Institute. They're like pretty famous for talking about relationships. But one thing they said is if it's something that doesn't matter to you, then why would you just not do the thing that matters to them? You know what I'm saying? If you think dropping the clothes on the floor is fine, I'm not really sure what planet you're from, but that's fine. It's fine, but it matters to your wife or something matters to your husband, then why would you not, if you want to be connected and have a healthy, happy, whole relationship, why would you not just do the thing that matters to them and be intentional about that? But we're not talking about women today. We're talking about men. But they don't like to be nagged, y'all. They don't want to be nagged. So as Onita said, even before you get married, you need to learn how to, we need to learn how to navigate those conversations. It doesn't mean suppress your feelings, but I do think that I want to say something about something you said, Onita, is that first of all, you have to determine, is it really that big of an issue that you need to keep talking about it? Or do you just say, okay, he's not going to pick his clothes up, so I'm just going to walk behind him and put him in the hamper myself and keep it moving? Or does that really facilitate somebody's insensitivity and lack of maturity? Whatever. I don't know. But I think there are different things. I do that even now in my relationships that are just friendships, is that, does that really matter to me? Can I just say, you know what, that's just it, and it works. Some things matter, some things don't. They just matter to you, and it's really not an issue. So, okay, number 3.
I want to add one more thing to that too, Lorraine. That I don't know, Mr. Godman's Institute, but it's another podcast I follow. But they're both therapists and the marriage therapists, relationship therapists, and they said killer words to your conversation to get the person mad right off the bat on the defense is starting off. You always. Why can't you, like, when you start saying you never follow up, but you always say you're gonna do it, you don't do it. You've already put the person on defense. So if you really want the man to hear you, please take those phrases out. Let's just talk about this moment right here. This is why we've also encouraged in previous podcasts to forgive fast. Now, forgiveness fast don't mean I'm gonna forgive, but I'm gonna keep bringing it up every time. That means I've actually forgiven it. We're gonna do it to forgiveness. Right, we're gonna do it to see forgiveness. Also, some issues, like Haydn said, maybe address that issue right then, and you can do it in jokingly way. Because I would say sometimes humor has helped me in hard things. She come outside and be like, "Dang, girl, what took you so long? You had to, I don't know if she had a weave, but you get, what you had to do." You had to, smoke your wig. I don't know. It's humor, which can help lighten the situation a little bit for you because you're getting it out there, but you're addressing the issue right there. Let's nip it in the bud and let's move on, because we don't want the issue to then fester and become this huge weed that will choke out all these other good things. So but never and always. Once you start nagging, you never do. You always do. That's it. The person's already on the defensive.
Absolutely. Okay, what's number 3? We're ready.
Okay, so here's the best I can do, I think. Disinterest in my life, almost like a person that's self-centered.
Okay,
Yeah.
you gotta say more about that.
Okay,
Break it
I have a
down.
friend.
Yes.
She wasn't a romantic friend, but she was very interested in herself. Hundreds of hours of conversations, and she knew a very limited amount about me. Now, I mentioned on the last time I was on that as I own a business and there's stress, and even before we got on, I was talking to my sisters about some of that stuff that I really don't right now. I don't have a way to unload. I don't want to unload it on my children. I need someone that's interested in me and the things that I'm interested in, to be, and I 20, 30 years ago when I got married, I would have never said this. I would have never thought about that's something that I needed. But as I grow older, or even when I was younger, if I look back, it is something that I need someone that says, hey, you're more interesting than me. How does that sound? Does that sound bad? Or you're as interesting as me. And I will say this also. That definitely goes both ways. And I'm going to tell you something, and it's going to make me sound horrible, but hopefully I grew from that. My last wife, she worked 45 minutes from home. So as soon as she turned the key in the ignition, she called me. And she was telling me about work. And I wasn't interested. I mean, it was every day. Until I'm like, you know what? I decided, I was like, I'm not listening to her because she's asking me questions that I think I'm supposed to know the answer to, and I don't. I started listening, and I realized that there was a thread through all the stories, a work soap opera, and I got to know the people that she worked with. I understood her stresses, understood what was going on in the work environment, and even when we would have, whatever we would have, and I'd meet these people, I'd have some backstory. And I'm like, hey, I would like someone to do, and so I became the person that I should have been the whole time. And I'm thinking now, maybe that's why I'm thinking I would like someone to have that same interest, because where I work is like a soap opera. It's this person connected to that person and that person, and they did that. And I would like to be able to express that to someone else that could say, oh, they didn't really, kind of that,
Of course.
Hey, you're interested in what I'm interested in, and I'm interested in sharing. And I think that communication, as I'm learning, is the foundation of a great relationship, and that makes you communicate with somebody. It makes you it gives you agenda items to talk about on a daily basis. That's part. So even communication is that, but definitely want someone that's interested in my life, my goals, my dreams, my whatever, and vice versa. I want to be that person that's interested in them. So,
no, I think that's important because communication is such an important part of intimacy and connection. Like you just can't have it. And people, there's this myth that men don't like to talk or don't want to talk and they don't need, and I just don't actually believe that's true. They may not want to talk as much as women. We have different types of relationships. Like, we have our women's group, and I mean, if there was no barriers, we could probably be on there for half a day, but it's already been 2 or 3 hours every Sunday. So, But I think that everyone wants to feel heard and cared about, and to have someone just listen and be in their world. You spend 8-10 hours apart, and so I think a lot of times when when people say they grew apart, it's really because you didn't intentionally grow together. It's not something that just happens. You have to be intentional. And if I'm spending that much time in my job or my business or with the kids or whatever it is, then I need you to listen to that, and I want to hear what you have to say as well, so that we can be in each other's worlds. Because suddenly it becomes, I'm talking to the person at work more than I'm talking to, my wife or my husband, and that can turn into a real mess after a while, because that's how, that's often the foundation of those emotional affairs, and then other kinds of beyond emotional, is that someone is listening to you where
Yes.
someone at home isn't listening to you.
That's so true. That's so true, Desiree. They do love to talk. And it's like you said, making, women are quick to say, I need a safe space. Men want that too.
Yes.
They
We're
want
gonna get
home
to
too
that
to be,
though.
yeah, they want home
Don't
to
say too
also
much
be,
about that one, because we're gonna get to that
okay.
one.
Yeah,
We're gonna dive into that.
yeah, but that disinterest in your life, it could show up in different ways too. Because so maybe they're being a listening ear, right? But what if it's that, like, Hayden, you said you listen to Dave Ramsey, I have his book, his workbook, and I listen too. But what if you are also trying to be financially sound and have to be a good steward, and your spouse is disinterested in there? Every time you come home, there's 5 or more Amazon boxes sitting right on the porch. You know, they're showing they're not interested in some of the things you're trying to do. Because if you're over here listening to podcasts, trying to save, trying to build for retirement, but they're constantly out blowing money, that's another form of not showing interest in the things that you're doing.
And not
And even
listening.
if you're not listening, so being able to have your purpose partner, somebody that also, they may not, your actual passion may not be their passion, but they are supporting you and whatever that goal is, and helping you make sure that you're able to see that come to fruition. And even if it's simple as sharing your podcast, sharing the link, but also being that voice. Because I would tell you, my husband knows now, if I've been out showing houses all day, he knows I'm calling him, one, to keep me awake on the phone, but two, to vent. Like, I need to get it all out. So sometimes it's just a simple, what happened? Oh yeah. and and then, mind you, 2 days down the road or 3 days, I could say, remember such and such. He goes, I don't remember you telling me that. I'm like, on my ride home 3 days ago. So one, I don't necessarily need him to remember every detail, but it's like you said, I need him to hold that space for me so that I can talk to him on that ride home, so I can get it all out. So then once I'm home, now it's just regular life and talking and all that. And so I'm glad you do share that, because I think, I don't think, I know for a fact, Lorraine, we've had moments where we've gotten into a routine. The calls or the conversation is only about, all right, what do you need to do? What bill is due? What happened? How was work? He's like, good, and that's it. And I've actually been in work, and I've witnessed married people cheating at work because they got all the shoulder from the woman at work. Gave them all the compliments, showed them how great of a job, you do this so well, but held space and became the listening ear. And then when the man got home, all the wife ever did was, what you didn't do, nag, good for this. And it's very unfortunate, but it's a reality that if we can change these habits, if we can show up for the person you wanted to be in a relationship with and make that commitment. And remember that coming into a relationship too, we're both coming to also serve each other. So help serve this person by being interested in the things that matter most to them.
Yeah, I say this all the time, and I when I was in Ephesus and I was doing that seminar for the relationship ministry, we talked about this. Just taking, I said an hour, but then I had to back it down to 30 minutes. Take an hour every day where you just talk about non-administrative stuff to your spouse. Get
Yes.
to know them. We don't even really know that much about ourselves, let alone can we know that much about another person. And it's like, get to know them, ask questions. There's a million different of those cards now that you can, if you don't know what questions to ask, that can really dig into just interesting stuff, fun stuff.
Yes.
It doesn't always have to be like traumatic stuff, just like stuff that happened in your past that was funny or that you remember, or good memories. And just a different question can trigger that. Get to know, get a PhD in your partner. And that comes from communicating. It doesn't come from anything else. It doesn't come from anything else. And so when I said an hour, people were looking like, an hour every day. And I was like, and I said it when I did a marriage seminar, I was, and to this marriage group, and I said it, and they was just looking like I was just like, so you have committed to spend the rest of your life with someone, but you can't spend an hour talking to them?
Yeah.
I was just like, how many single people are longing for just someone like that? And it's like, we waste what we have in, I don't even know what we're chasing. After it's like, okay, well, we got them, so now we can just do life. And I understand that children have to be fed and all that, but they don't eat all day, and children can entertain themselves. Like, we need to stop acting like we have to be. Our parents were not entertaining us when we were.
Never.
They weren't our little friends.
They were not entertaining us. We were playing with each other. We were watching TV. We were playing games. We were outside. Like, that is not how parenting worked back then. So we need to.
We didn't want to see them. We didn't want them to see us, okay? Because they're gonna make you do something.
They didn't have to tell me to go outside and play, but we were always outside playing. But it's just like, you don't have to entertain them all day long. They can leave you alone, and you need to make sure that happens. So,
and you show your children how to have healthy relationships when they see you set the boundary. Hey, mom and dad are having time together. Go set down somewhere. Go do something. But we're mom and dad time
because we gonna do us. All right, number 4.
Number 4. How about lack of emotional support?
Okay.
And you know what? I think we've already broken it down. All those things that we've already spoke about. Men have feelings. Men have emotions. Men go through things. Most of us, definitely me, I'm a master of hiding that because I don't want to look weak, especially in a relationship. This woman wants you to be strong and carry, so you don't want to share that, but you need that emotional support, in all the things you do, in all the places that life takes you. It goes back to that video that we talked about, the man coming home, and for whatever reason, she was going to go off on him for being late, but he had been through so much that day that he needed her to be a different person other than the nagger.
Right.
That
the Holy Spirit basically checked her and was like, nah.
Yeah. So men need that too. I think men need. I'm a crier. We might talk about this. I'm a crier.
I love that.
You got to keep those things locked up. One of my ex-wife used to make fun of me because my oldest daughter, broke her toe, and we found out while we were driving in the car. She wasn't with us, and she said that a tear came down my face when I heard it. I mean, I wasn't boo-hoo crying. I was just like, oh my gosh. I was sad that it happened. So yeah, it would be nice to have someone that could support me and still trust me in those emotions, and don't disregard those feelings that you might have just because you're a man. That's part of the whole package. Now, if he's boohoo crying all the time, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm not telling you what to do, but we need emotional support while not, being encouraged to be emotional in every situation and every circumstance.
Right.
Sometimes you
Right.
gotta man up,
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said men are emotional, because one thing about it, I believe y'all men are the most emotional creatures you ever meet. Okay, I'm like, watch men watching sports. Just look at you watching sports. How intense it is, right? And just how intensified you get. You're emotional. And Hayden, you talked about it very early on, how been conditioned or socialized not to be emotional, not to cry. I heard all the time growing up, real men don't cry.
Right.
Yes, you do. If you're human, you cry. You come out the womb crying. It's a reality that's what happens. And so you are emotional. And I think that, no, I don't think I know for a fact, because I think this is one of the topics, Lorraine, I said I want to talk about. Got to get back to it. Emotional constriction is a thing where we're trained, not just men, but even women. We're trained to suppress certain emotions early on. I mean, I would get a spanking and then get told, "Don't cry. You better not cry." You're like, "But you spank me, and physically, I need to release this pain." And so, I mean, that's where a lot of that comes from. But I think it's a sad day, though, when a woman, and honestly, because it's in our nature to nurture, if she can't hold space for you in that way, that sister has a whole lot more unhealed trauma. That if she can't be an emotional support for the man and allow you to express your feelings and allow you to know that it's safe to have that space. Now, we'll say this: if you've caused a lot of that trauma to that sister, and now you want her to hold that space for you, I ain't mad at her. Okay, that's all.
All right, I get that. Let's answer this question, Hayden, and then I'll make a comment after that. How should wives support husbands emotionally if they don't show or share their emotions? This is a legitimate question, I think.
That is legitimate, and it's one of those things where you just have to you have to know. You just have to know. You have to be so connected to that person that and sometimes the biggest support for me could be silence, just and be there. Patrice, there's a comedian, his name's Patrice, he's passed away. He said that I want you there, but I don't want you right here. So it's like men need support. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's just, of course, he was being funny. I need you to sit with me, literally or figuratively. Doesn't have to be right next to me, but I need you to sit with me in my emotions when things are not where I need it to be, or even in happiness when things are awesome and you had a big bonus. I need you to sit with me. I need you to
Celebrate.
to celebrate me. The celebration that I might have gotten at the awards banquet at work was wonderful, but the celebration, and I'm not talking sexual, the celebration that you recognize, that I am who I'm telling you I am when I come home is a legit thing. I need, and I will say for me, I need celebration. That emotion. I need you to bring that emotion to the table when I have big wins. I need somebody to say, "That's my man. You did awesome." More so than I can see my numbers. My numbers are telling the truth, but I need someone to voice it, and maybe not always voice it. Maybe there can be some silence or whatever, where I'm just, you're communicating to me, "Hey, I'm proud of what you've done, and I'm proud of what you're doing."
Yeah. I think that's good. All right, we got another one, and I think I want to just chime in here on that. And
Good question.
how can a wife support her husband if she's dealing with trauma that he caused but is remorseful about? And personally, I believe that you all need counseling. You need someone to mediate that, because even if he's genuinely remorseful, there were many times he said he was sorry and then he did it again. And so she's going to have issues with trust, and she's going to have issues with healing. She's going to have issues, and he's going to struggle with the fact that he's like, I'm legitimately sorry this time. And why don't you accept that? And I just think you need someone in the middle of that. We're not, yeah, I that's what I think, Dolores. You really have to, because what can happen is that you just kind of suppress that and be like, okay, well, I forgive you and I accept, but you really haven't dealt with the thing. You haven't really healed, and it's going to come out in some other way or some other time. Even if he makes a mistake that's different than the stuff that he was doing before, it can turn into a World War III because you really just shoved all that stuff down. So I just think you need someone to navigate and help you mediate that type of rebuilding of trust. But
I look at the story in the Bible about the prodigal son, and I don't know if everyone understands what kind of trauma happens in the middle of that. You know, you got a father. God is the picture of that's waiting and for an extended amount of time for this guy to come back, and then when he comes back, instantly he is put back on here. He's given forgiveness. He's got a ring. He's who he was.
Mm-hmm.
But the relationship for us as humans can't end there. It has to go beyond that, and there has to be a rebuilding of some of even the stuff that we talked about here of trust. That was of communication.
Yes.
And then I don't think that before that trust and communication is repaired, can we get back to that celebration? I just don't see it. I mean, been there, done that. It takes a while, and we can't pretend that it doesn't. I think that once we have to say is that this relationship as we knew it is over. And now we have to rebuild something new. If rebuilding is what we want to do together,
yes,
and we have to rebuild it with a different foundation this time for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons I believe is so that whatever the breach is does not happen again. So if we if a bridge breaks, whatever the reason the bridge broke, we got to look at that. We have to analyze it. We got to know for sure. And then when we rebuild it, we can't rebuild the same bridge. We got to say, okay, that bridge broke, and now we have to come up with a different design for the bridge. Others that are looking at the bridge might say, well, that's the same bridge. It might have the same name, but it's a totally different bridge that's been built there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I 100% agree with that. And I had a situation with somebody that I knew, and the relationship was broken to the point where divorce had been requested, and then it was like a few months or weeks, and it was like, okay, well, no, let's try to work it out. And I said, well, have you established what you actually need from this person? And have you communicated that to them? Because otherwise you're building the same marriage that was in shambles, and it's going to fall apart again, versus saying, okay, I wasn't getting what I needed. You weren't getting what you needed. What do you need? What do I need? Because now I need to decide if I can even give you that. You know what I'm saying?
Can we build this bridge?
Can we build that? Because what you really want is something that I don't really want to give you. So now we got a real problem. But if I don't communicate what I want, and I just kind of accept what it was, I'm going to still be broken inside, whether it's the woman or the man or both, in a sense that it gets so like well, I don't want to say, because we're sort of kind of going on the right path. So I don't want to say, I don't want to shake it. It's already shaky. Like you really build it on sand. And then you're going to find yourself in the same situation, 3 months, 6 months, a year down the road, still unhappy, still unsatisfied, still unfulfilled. But now in this shaky situation. So,
Yes.
Onita, did you have something you wanted to share about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say those are all both what you both said like are really great points. I've had it have it personal in my life, and I've seen it happen a lot. It's particularly in church, where either people will just say we're gonna pray about it
Mm-hmm.
and never have the conversations, never get the therapy, and they keep kicking the can down the road. And I've seen to where either it's once they become empty nesters, people immediately divorce because now the kids aren't there as their reason for staying together. And by this time, it's not just you grown apart, you resent each other so much because neither of the expectations are being met. So, one, we talk about even us as women doing certain health challenge, write down what you want to look like, what you want your life to look like. Come together with your spouse and both write down what you want this marriage to look like. If we're going to be, alive again for the next 25 years, this time, like Hayden said, rebuilding this bridge, what do we want this to look like? One, you'll get to see right in writing. Oh my goodness, we got totally different things. Oh, hey, we got a lot of the similar things, right? But two, have the therapy. Like I totally agree with you, Lorraine, having to have a mediator come in because sometimes we've avoided some things for so long. It's you do feel afraid to hurt the other person's feeling and communicate it. And sometimes, and I this happened to me this year. I was resentful to my husband for an expectation I never clearly communicated I needed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was one that he was very willing and happy to meet. And so, it was like, why didn't you just tell me? Well, if it was something similar, I felt like you didn't meet because I came into the marriage from a childhood learning out most of the things I need to do on my own and do by myself, but suffer pay the bills. So I was cool with you doing all of that. I already came in with this mindset that I got to do all this other stuff, right? Or I don't need to communicate every exact need that I need, or you should know. We've been together so long. A lot of people just say, well, we've been together so long, you should automatically know. No, don't make assumptions. You need to clearly communicate what you need and not make assumptions. But if you've already had a breakdown, when you've already had the D word, the divorce has come into the arguments multiple times, it's time to have a professional come in and help you mediate through the tough conversations. Because here's the thing too, as a Christian, I fully believe that Jesus, when he says I've come so you may have life and have it abundantly, does not mean you're supposed to stay in an unhappy marriage. People think they're supposed to be happy every day. I'm not saying that happiness is going to come from your spouse, but meaning we're building something together. We've committed to be together, not just because I don't want folks talking about us at the church, but like I love you and I like you and I like the life that we're building together. I trust you. I want to be around you. I want to hang out with you. That's part of this abundant life. So let's do the work. Let's bring in the professional if this is what we want to have the tough conversations. Last point: if you have cancer, you go to oncologist. If you had a heart attack, you go see cardiologist. This marriage thing deals with your mind and your heart. These are very critical things because if I'm telling you, can nothing else mess me up? Like I can kind of still focus. Kids a little sick, I still can go. But if me and my husband ain't vibing, it kind of trickles down and messes you up in all areas of your life. And so that's something you need to make it a priority to have a professional come in and help you, be able to deal with that.
No, that's good. I want to just go back to that question that Ebony asked because I was going to say something about that. And I think that, what Hayden was saying, we need to know. I think that's very possible because when we are with our friends, our girlfriends, we know, like we can sense, even if we're not talking to them, we can sense from the text, we can sense from, oh, they've been quiet for a while, they haven't like text or those types of things. And I think that we can, especially as you spend time with this person, we can know. And be there. We don't have to like, necessarily do the girl thing that we would do with each other, and because emotional support does often look different between women than it does between men and women. But to just be present, and if they need to talk, just let them know, hey, if you need to talk, then I'm here. But what can I do for you? What can I do for you is a great question for anybody, because we don't always know what to do. Even if they say they do need something, we don't know what to do. So it's like, what can I do for you in this moment that would help you? And then they can communicate that, even if they may not be ready to, spill the tea, but they know that you're there. And that's kind of lead into this final one that we're going to talk about. You want to give the context, Haydn, and then tell?
All right. There's a great, it was on Instagram, video on Instagram, which a guy was embracing a brick wall, and he was sharing all his stuff, his emotions, the things that we talked about tonight with the brick wall. And the caption was that it's easier to be vulnerable with a brick wall. It's better to be than with a woman, because that stuff will never come back in your face if you're talking to the brick wall. So the implication is that if you tell a woman your hopes, your dreams, your needs, your weaknesses, your whatever you got going on, that in that argument that is going to happen sometime in the future, or maybe not, but mostly in the argument, that's going to come back to hit you in the face. Your vulnerabilities are a liability for you.
He sent me that video, and he asked the question, would you rather talk to a brick wall or to your woman?
Yeah.
And I immediately went to the comments, and most of the men was like, I'd rather talk to a brick wall. And there was, and that wasn't the only reason. There were a variety of reasons. I was trying to find the video and pull it up so I can show you all, but there were a variety of reasons, and that's kind of what spawned this whole episode. So talk about that, Haydn, a little bit more.
I don't have extreme experience with this, but I definitely was vibing with the comments. Here's one of them. Telling your female your feelings to a woman is like talking to the cops. Anything you say can and will be used against you later.
That was hilarious. I was cracking up. I mean, it was sad, but I was definitely cracking up.
Telling a girl your feelings is like bleeding next to a shark.
Dang.
Mercy.
A brick wall never threw what I told it back in my face. Bricks don't take screenshots.
Oh wow!
This is a screenshot era. Okay, people got receipts.
Oh my goodness!
Receipts.
Yeah.
People got receipts. Well, I again, we're laughing about it, but it is very sad that we're in a world.
Wait a second. This is another one. This one cracked me up. I feel warm and safe around you. Words to never say to a woman, and that's positive.
Wow. Yeah. It was. I was like, whoa, man. Not to the cops, but it's true. And that's the thing that we have to admit when we're on this program. We're not just going to talk about what men do that hurts us. We're going to talk about what women do that hurt men. And this is a major one. I remember I was watching an episode of a podcast, and they were showing a clip of something else. They were showing a clip of Shaquille O'Neal, and he was talking to someone, and they were just like, how do you it was something about, sharing your emotions and sharing your stuff with a woman. And Shaquille O'Neal, dead serious. He was like, you never tell a woman anything. You never, ever, ever. He was married for a long time. He's like, you never tell a woman anything because they're just going to cut you, and they are untrustworthy. You don't need to share any information. You don't need to share any emotions. I was just like, he was going hard. He was going hard in the paint, yo. And I was just like, dude, he was hurt. But the guys who were on the actual podcast were just saying it was clear that he had been hurt and he was bitter because they didn't buy into that theory. They were just like, I totally trust my wife 100% and I share everything with her. But they were like, we understand, we recognize that they have been hurt. He's been hurt. And so that's why he's having that feeling. But these guys obviously have been hurt too by that. And my thing is, like, I barely remember. Like, I remember what you say for when it's necessary, but I don't be holding on to. I don't nobody. I'm just like, so I can't throw it back in your face if I wanted to, but that's really just not my character. But that kind of makes me sad. So you said you don't have personal experience, but you have.
Well, here is my only personal experience with things like that. I would say that I've been in relationships where I've shared something, and instead of that person giving space for that, they wanted to talk about how I did similar things. So I let me get that brick wall. Where's that brick wall?
Oh my Lord.
Yes, that's a very big problem. There's this guy called Jimmy. He has a YouTube channel, Jimmy on Relationships, and he talks about that dynamic when you bring a concern to your partner, and instead of validating your concern, they say, well, you do that too, or you did this, or you do that, and then it just turns back on you. It's just like, that's not really how this is supposed to go. If you have
talk about it, then
you need to talk about that when you had it, but not right now.
Right. Because it's gaslighting at that moment, and you may have felt that way, but it's not your turn. It's their turn today. It's not your turn. And to Shaquille O'Neal saying that he may have been, like you said, hurt, but also I would tell you, I grew up hearing men say that he may have been hurt, or he may have been groomed to believe and think that, because I saw it happen a lot, just in my community growing up. Men talk that I remember my dad telling my mom how much he made or what he brought him a check, and his family, his brothers and cousins, like, man, you don't tell them how much you make, man. You don't do this. Like, that was the norm. So there were women, like my grandmother didn't drive, and a lot of her peers, women that grew up in her journey, did not drive. The men did the driving, and some of them, either the men brought the money home and the woman wrote all the bills, or the woman knew absolutely nothing about the finances or anything. So God forbid he died first. They didn't know where to find anything, where to do anything. So some of it is also conditioning. And I think because of that conditioning, we did have a generation of women that came behind that who said, I'm going to speak out on everything. Like, I'm going to know everything, and I'm going to tell you about yourself and have receipts. My memory used to be a lot better before I had kids. I don't have receipts, okay? I can't. I think Oprah at one time said, no, I'm sorry, Maya Angelou, people may not remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And so I can't really recall everything, but if this is something that stuck out to me that I felt hurt in them, I may remember, when that time we went somewhere. I don't have all the receipts. I can't do all that. The other thing is, I can't. But the Bible does tell us, to forgive. If you are a Christian watching this podcast, we are called to forgive. We're not talking about he's hitting you and you're just like, oh, forgive and move on. We're saying that, there are some offenses. Yeah, no, because you may need to call me because I'm that girl. I like to lay hands. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. I'm kidding, and I'm not kidding. But anyway.
She got a bat.
Yeah, I do have a bat at home. It's my walking stick. But we are called to forgive. right? And so there's some times where there has been a disagreement and you said, okay, it's over, squash and it's done. But then something else happens and you come back up and you bring it up again, then you didn't forgive. You know, and I see why the man will then get mad, because here again, you're criticizing, you're calling out every little thing they didn't do right. And even though you said you forgave and it was supposed to be a clean slate, you really did not. And it really wasn't a clean slate.
Yeah.
And it's not fair and it's not healthy. Like, you cannot, basically, nobody wants to walk around on eggshells all the time in a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's at work, but especially in a relationship, not feeling like that, okay, now if I do this again, if I make any mistake, they're going to bring back all the other 10 past offenses each time. Yeah, that's not healthy. It's not fair.
Right. But I think it also can show up in ways like, if you make more money than somebody, and if the woman makes more money than the man, and it can kind of, you can make comments, if the man has some sort of feelings about that, and then you can't express yourself. You can't express your vulnerability around that, your concerns around that. Because I think there are a lot of men who care that their wives make more money than them. I think that's a sore spot for a lot of men. It's not a sore spot for every man, but I think that attitude is basically throwing something in my face that I'm just like, okay, well, I wish we hadn't really gone there, whatever. So,
and that's an interesting subsection of that. And I'd like to think it through, that I would like to express myself and say, hey, I feel this way. Doesn't mean I want to end the relationship. I'm just sharing with you. And yeah, that's probably the type of thing that is needed in relationships. I need to tell you how this feels to me. So not just so that you could know, but so I can hear it and I can hear what you have to say. I can hear how, in this circumstance, if I was married to someone that made, or was dating someone and I said something about it, I would want to hear some grace about that. I would like to hear, yeah, I'm going to spend some more time thinking about that, because that could, I guess, happen to me.
Yeah. So we are, so that was the last one. And really we want to know, if you're already married, what things you might be doing that you want to not do anymore, that you want to ask God to help you to navigate, to correct, to surrender to him, in that process of sanctification. But if you are not married and you honestly, and I just think that that's part of maybe sometimes the issue, is that we don't honestly assess those character flaws that we may have, that may be reflected in some of the things that Haydn shared today, or maybe some other things that are, honestly, you're single. That means you have the opportunity of a lifetime, really, to ask God to make those changes in your character, so that you don't do these things when and if you do have the privilege of being married. And that's wisdom. And that's what we're about, being wise in your relationships, because wisdom is what really facilitates joy and happiness and purpose and direction, instead of, foolishness and drama and anger and misery and all of these other things that nobody is really signing up for. And so we really want to, if you missed some, you need to go back and listen and just be like, we might throw them in the chat, in the description too. But go back and listen, share this. If there's somebody that that might need this, share it with them, because we really want to be better at this. We know that it's really a false narrative that 50% of relationships end in divorce. That has been proven by Shanti Feldhand's book. But and I'll put that in the chat as well. I mean, not in the chat, but in the description. But we don't really want any divorce, any marriages ending in divorce, especially in God's church. It's not 50%, and it's significantly less than in the world. But even in the world, it's not 50%. And so we really want to be better at this, because this is not just, marriage is not just for us. Marriage is a representation of God, the creator of the union. And he says, if you keep me at the center, then you're certainly going to be in a better situation. But when we go out in the world as Christians, as married people, we are representing our Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And if we are doing that badly, then that says, well, what's the point of being a Christian if they're not healthier, their marriages aren't better, they're just as broke as the rest of us, they just as mean. So what is the point of being a Christian if that doesn't change anything about your life? And we're here to say, if you're really a Christian and surrender to God, it changes everything about your life.
Yes.
And so thank you, Haydn, once again for sharing 5 huge signs you need to know that it's time to let that woman go. And we will certainly have him back again in the future.
Yes.
And he is single, in case anybody is,
Listen, Lorraine, I texted
someone who is not late all the time.
Horrible.
Listen, I text a punctual friend of mine, punctual, educated, kind, marriage, Christian, a good listener, gives great advice. And I said, I need you to watch tonight, and I need you to pay attention to Haydn.
Now, why aren't you texting any men? What is that about? We've been doing this for how long?
I know. I got to be outside more, Lorraine. I got to be outside.
You need to find some male friends, because you got too many women up in. I'm tired of y'all.
Yes.
Y'all always got a woman to hook up with a man and my brother, but come on now. All right. Well, thank you very much. So remember, let me go to our scripture. We are going to have our afterwise. So we're going to drop that in the chat right now. We're just going to talk for a little while. If you have questions for Haydn, or you just want to jump in on the conversation, we do record that and we play that in our hiatus. So we're going to drop that in the chat if you want to join us backstage. But I'm going to just go with Proverbs chapter 14:1 today. The wise woman builds her house, and that's what we want to be, right? Wise women. But with her own hands, the foolish one tears hers down. You do not want to be a foolish woman. So if you have a house, you're married now, if these things there are things that you're doing that resonated, then you need to get, either you're not doing them all, or you need to get better at doing these things, then ask God to help you get better and be intentional about that. Do not tear your own house down with your hands. Once again, I just want to share in the description, we didn't do that, but in the description, we have our 7-day fulfilled and fabulous challenge. If you know any single women, then you just let them know they can go in the chat and get that. And we would love to have them be a part of that. And we are grateful for all of your support on this episode and just this program in general. So please hit the thumbs up, please comment, please share, please subscribe. We just want to grow the channel. And we appreciate you being here to support us. And so until next time, make choices that will help you live, love, and marry wiser. God bless you.